Welcome, my friends, to Spooky Storytime. It's been a while, but I'm back with more real life tales of horror and abject fear. I've got with me Flame from Skinwalker Gang.
Greetings.
We're here with our friend Matt, who's had some interesting experiences in his life, and we're probably going to hit all of them. But tonight, I just want to talk about Bigfoot.
Yeah, he's certainly got enough content there.
He is the number one content boy in cryptid world. Are you comfortable telling me in what region your experiences have taken place?
Yeah, I'm from Pennsylvania, so
That's one of the top places for Bigfoot sightings, no
yeah,
doubt.
it's got some. Yeah, definitely.
I would say paranormal activity. I've seen a
True.
lot of weird shit in the sky.
Well,
Yeah,
Out there.
especially. Yeah, definitely. That's like something that's known for my area at least with a lot of spooky stuff. Let's just say that a lot of
I have
extraterrestrial
a
stuff.
question. Are you up in the mountains?
I'm about an hour away from the mountains. I'm in western Pennsylvania, but I'm in the foothills.
so between Bigfoot, UFOs, Gettysburg ghosts, and everything, you're definitely in a hot spot.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot that goes on here. In fact, the area that I'm from is known for its own unique cryptid. It's a gargoyle, actually.
Tell me more. It immediately makes me think of the Jersey Devil. Is it along those lines?
It's more of like it's more like the Mothman. That's probably the closest thing to it.
Was it ever understood as dangerous, or is it more of just like an omen?
I would just it's I wouldn't say it's like an omen. It's just something that people saw on a regular basis. There was the first sighting of it actually took place in like the eastern part of the state in like 1998, and then in 2011 in my home county, there was like 5 or 6 sightings right one after the other on the same road. And again, it was like all the same thing of this like kind of tall, dark, mysterious winged
Tall,
figure
dark, and handsome, huh?
Yeah, tall, dark, handsome, mysterious winged figure, just menacingly staring at some people from the side of the road.
How far do these sightings go back? Is this a recent thing?
1998 was the first time that it was seen, and it was seen in the eastern part of the state before it came here in 2011.
I love that. I love those. Like the Chupacabra is very similar. 1995 was the first appearance, and these cryptids that popped up basically as urban legends with tenuous facts propagated over the early internet. That's some of my favorite cryptid content.
Yeah, for me as well, because it's you can see it's like just the organic nature of it. I should say is kind of nice to see.
So let's go from there. Let's go to your experiences with Bigfoot. First of all, do other people around you, are they aware of their proximity to this great ape?
I'd have to say most aren't. There's a couple people in my area who are kind of with it on the paranormal stuff, and most people aren't. Like for instance, the county capital has its own like UFO fair every year, and there's also a Bigfoot conference that takes place a couple counties up in the mountains every year. Of course, not the past year because of the vid, but you go up there and you hear okay. Oh, sorry.
Bigfoot piss. I'm just throwing thoughts out there. You could just like sell jars of Bigfoot piss.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be like the snake oil at this thing.
Yeah, you just rub some, rub some under your pits and fucking smell fresh all day.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Perfect.
Where the fuck were we?
Just are people with it? But yeah, so I would say the vast majority of people aren't, but like I've known people here that have seen it. My good friend, who I've had the majority of my encounters with, he's seen it and has some wacky stories himself to tell.
So have you? I think you said that you've never actually seen it with your eyes, right?
Yeah, no, I haven't.
Okay, so your friend who did, does he have a description?
Yeah, he said that basically his actual sighting of it occurred whenever he was in about middle school, and he was kind of playing in this backyard, and they have like a little corral in the backyard where it's like he calls it a corral. It's like a little field, and he walked down the hill to this corral, and he saw it standing there. He said it was about a 9 foot tall, hairy man, is what he said it looked like to him. And he said this thing took, maybe 5 or 6 steps, and it went from one end of the corral to the other. And he said it literally stepped over the creek, and the creek is, probably 6 to 7 feet wide in and of itself, stepped over it like it was nothing and kind of bolted off through the woods.
It's so funny how the motif of a creek is so common in all of these Bigfoot stories and always used for scale. I wonder what that is. I wonder if they follow creek beds or something, if those are like roads to them, or I don't know.
That's how they drink.
Right. Well, there's
He needs a
also
little sip. He's a thirsty boy.
right. He's definitely thirsty. There's also lots of like food in the creek, so you can find crayfish, clams, or whatever.
So
he's eating good.
was there?
Yeah, he's chilling.
Was there any description of maybe like facial features? Like, was the face hairy? Any idea?
He said he really didn't get a good look at the face. He said it was kind of like, as for a split second, he kind of saw a glimpse of it before it kind of turned and bolted.
Okay, let's move on to your personal experiences then.
Yeah, I'll just say like one caveat to that is the area that my experiences are going to take place in. It's an old abandoned like strip mine area on his buddy's farm, and down in what we call the spoil piles, which are these giant hills that were made from like the debris of like the crap that the miners didn't want. Down in that area is probably the spookiest place I've ever been. It is terrifying down in there at night.
Go on, give me put the mental image in my mind.
So like the way you have to basically to get into this property, and you have to go park on like a nearby road, and you walk through this like cornfield into the woods, and then you finally get up to the strip mine. And the strip mine is just like a giant crater. It looks like a meteor smacked into the place. But then you go downhill into what we call the spoils, and they're like these just giant hills that were formed by this debris buildup. And when you get down in there, like during the day, it's, there's like no sunlight down in this area. It's forest, and it's, the hills kind of block it all out. And at night, it's like 20 times more creepy because there is literally no light, even if there's a full moon. Not a lot gets down in there. And especially in the wintertime, when you go down there, there's nothing making a sound. It's just you and whoever you're with. It's spooky, man.
So what did you experience there?
So my buddy, he's been like going down there for a couple of years, and he would say that he'd find deer down in this area, and he'd found like it almost looked like something was plucking the hair off these deer carcasses and kind of stacking it up to the side. So I actually got to see one of
the hair.
Yeah, it was like plucking the hair off of the hide, and like kind of like you could see where it had put like it off to the side of the animal.
What was there any like I guess like bite marks? Was like the carcass like innards exposed or anything like that?
You could see where something had been biting on it, but there's also a lot of coyotes in this area. As my story has something to do with that, but lots of coyotes and stuff that could also be eating on it.
You'll find like tufts of hair laying out in the woods, usually around the sign of a struggle. But was this was something that didn't look so much like a struggle, but more like almost something was being harvested?
Yeah, it was like a deliberate, like the hair was being removed off of the deer carcass and it like plucked off with purpose. If that makes any sense, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I got to see one of those one time. He started running a trap line down through this property, trapping for raccoons and for mink and muskrat, and I come with him every so often just to walk the line, especially whenever it was getting close to dark. He didn't really want to go in there alone. And we found one of these carcasses one time, and that was spooky in and of itself. But where it really starts getting kind of weird is down in the spoil piles. We would have these trails where we kind of made ourselves going back into the woods, and where we would check traps, and there would be I mean, markers, I guess, would be the best way to describe them. Like trees that had been bent over and stuck into the ground
Yes,
to form like the arches.
they say the
I'm sure like
classic tree snaps and stuff like that. That's their way of marking territory.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, the tree snap, these arches that get formed. The X is also a big one that people usually see. Um, so yeah, like we would find those in this area. And my buddy at one point, he said that he had gone down to this area before, and along his trail were two branches that had been tied together. And I eventually, like, he brought me down to the area and showed me where this was at, and I saw the two trees. But he'd broken them apart one night as he was coming back out, and the next morning, those two trees were tied back together along the trail again, blocking his path.
That idea of tying is very interesting. Not only is it just an intelligent act,
Yeah.
we were also talking about taking the hair off of deer, and now there's stories about Bigfoot supposedly going on to like farmers' ranches where they have horses and braiding the horse's hair.
Yeah, I've heard that there's actually a local woman around here who claimed to have had that experience where she said that if a horse's hair was braided in the middle of the night, it was a sign of a witch. But a couple of the Bigfoot researchers in the area that I know are convinced that this is Bigfoot activity.
Well, it usually looks very rudimentary and rough. It's not
Yeah.
like it's like a stylist did this.
Yeah,
So
it's not
that's-
hairdresser. Bigfoot's not a hairdresser or anything.
So I think
Can't
that's
do
it's
it.
interesting how it ties together that intelligent act of tying, which can be seen, and then the interest in other creatures and their hair.
Yeah, definitely. It was, it proved to me that whatever's going on here is it's either someone who's really dedicated to faking it, or it's something that's, it can't be a natural thing. Tree branches just don't find themselves tied together. And especially in the way it was done. I mean, it was from the pictures he showed me, it was, intricately done. It wasn't just like I couldn't do it. I know he couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean it's surprisingly, I don't know if it's surprisingly or not, but it's very difficult to manipulate like living, plants. Take a fucking piece of a tree, like.
Yeah. I mean, especially like I wish I had the pictures to show you, because like they were just like, I mean, it was almost like a basket weaving kind of like was the way it was done. It was very strange, man.
That's also brought up sometimes in gifting. There will be roots or branches or bark or something weaved together in an intricate manner, a manner that almost reminds me of the way that people like wire wrap stones or something like that, where there's this rustic beauty to it.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen people who found like wreaths and stuff in the woods, or that's like leaned up on their bicycle or something as they were off, kind of doing whatever. There's all kinds of like weird stuff that is crafted in the woods. One of the people who I talked to about this, who was a local, they call like kind of give Bigfoot the nickname Santa Claus, because every time he goes into a research area, he leaves them something.
That's incredibly interesting. And part of it is like how easy that would be to fake. That just adds to the intrigue of it all.
Yeah, I mean, he said it's just strange because like in the one area which I know he goes to, you basically go in this long road to a state park, and you park your car there, and he does a big loop, about 3 mile walk, and he said whenever he gets back to his car, even if he's not out looking for Bigfoot, he'll find like, I guess, like a snail shell put onto his car, or like a couple of like rocks or something piled up. Something that's like, like I guess a person could do that, but it just seems odd.
Some of my favorite allegations are like handprints on the window. Man, that's what I want. That's so cool.
There's a crazy story from like a local area where I guess a couple guys, they were caught up in a snowstorm, and they pulled over the side of the road, and they were just kind of trying to sleep through the storm. And the guy said that how like the snow had packed up on the window, so like you really couldn't see out of the vehicle. He said he literally watched as a giant arm kind of went up onto the window and wiped off the snow, and something looked in at him.
What? That's crazy.
What would you do?
I don't know, man.
I'd
probably make some Bigfoot piss.
Dude, I'd probably fucking slam the horn as hard as possible and see what happens. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, most people around here have guns.
I'd chase them.
Chase them?
Yeah.
I'll rip my shirt off and chase them.
Definitely. What can you do at that point? I mean, that's just
you have to go have sex with them.
Right. Prostitute yourself for your life.
Hey, no, this ain't about the money. This is about sending a message.
Yeah, that's about how it will go.
I was saying I was trying to have my offspring as Sasquatch hybrids.
There you go, dude. Based master race.
Yeah, the new master race.
What hell of a way to return to monk.
So you had also mentioned that you had rocks thrown at you.
Yeah, that's happened to me on 2 separate occasions. So the first time it happened to me, it was on my buddy's birthday, and me and my buddy who all this stuff usually happens to, we went out to the lake and we went to a spot that's near a church, and there kind of like a boat launch there, and we go catfishing there all the time, and you know, that usually we're staying up till like 3 a.m. at that point. But the night this happened, we were out there kind of like hooting and hollering because it has a really good echo. And we were taking our shoes off and, you know, banging our shoes and shit and listening to the echo and just being kind of tards. And
yeah, dude, I've been up to 3 a.m. catfisting, acting like a tard.
This is what you gotta do, you know, sometimes. So we were, you know, going on, and my buddy, like, it's kind of like got to a point where we started like calming down. My buddy started like looking up into like the tree and shining the light up in the tree and looking on the ground, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck's he doing? And just as I was about to like ask him about it, a rock came out of the woods and, you know, flew right past my face into the water. And he's like, yeah, that's been happening to me for like the past 5 minutes. I didn't know if it was like nuts or something falling from the trees, what he was trying to like figure out. And you know, we're kind of sitting there like shocked by this. Another one comes sailing over right in front of us. And, you know, at that point we looked at each other like, it's time to leave, hopped in the car and just flew away.
How big of a rock?
Sizable rock, like probably, you know, it would take up your whole fist.
So we're talking like a softball?
Pretty much, yeah. Like just, yeah, a nice little river stone. A Goliath killer.
So now you said that many stones were thrown allegedly. Were they thrown with intent to hit? Because it doesn't sound like it from such a capable creature.
Yeah. I'm going to say no, because the first stones, like, I didn't know they were being thrown, and the other friend that was with us, he didn't know. My buddy had just, you know, had them kind of landed by him. That's why he originally thought they were nuts, and they weren't as big as the last two. So, you know, he said that, again, that's why he was looking in the trees and looking on the ground to see if this could just be like acorns or something.
So it seems like if that is like a colony of Sasquatch, a pod, if you will, out there, they seem particularly territorial, not necessarily in a dangerous sense, but they do seem like they want people out of their area.
Yeah, and then this is a pretty, like, it's a pretty well visited area during the day. At night, like, you know, getting up to like 3 a.m, like I said, that it's very rare to have anybody there at all. So I think that we might have, through like what we were carrying on and doing, might have brought them in as like an interest. And when they kind of saw what was going on, they wanted to sort of, you know, like, hey, it's 3 a.m, time to leave.
That's
get out of here thing.
One thing that you hear a lot from researchers, they'll say that sort of activity, it does draw in the more curious of Sasquatch, said to be the young, like the teenagers who are kind of ballsy. And like when you see that kind of stuff, that's what that is.
Yeah, what I've noticed is that from what people have told me and from some of the things that I've heard is that it's very rare to see an older Sasquatch. They usually, like, you really have to kind of go out into the wild and to like where nobody else is to really find them, because they're just that more elusive than anything else. The younger ones are sort of the more curious ones who will try to interact with you.
That also implies that the ones people see probably aren't full size.
Yeah, exactly. So imagine what the big boys are like.
Have you had any other experiences with Sasquatch in the wilderness?
Yeah, so probably the creepiest one for me was it was out on the farm that the spoils are in, up above the spoils. And so we were out there one night and we hiked into the woods to do some predator hunting. We are trying to get some coyotes, and my buddy had his like call it's like a dying rabbit basically is what it's mimicking, trying to get the coyotes to come in. So we're sitting in this field just blasting this call, and we have a pack of coyotes that are down in the spoil piles, just interacting with us. And I mean, there probably was easily 10 coyotes in this pack, just freaking out. And I mean, we were having a great time, just us calling and them responding and all that. But as we're kind of doing this, I don't even really know how to describe it. It's just we heard this loud moan, kind of mixed with like a whoop as well, and instantly like that, the coyote shut up. And
wow.
like instantly with like, I mean, it was creepy.
Well, where I'm at, like one of the scariest things, and it's not like you're scared for your life, but like if you're out in the woods alone, or especially if you got like your dog with you, and you hear like a pack of coyotes, they sound gnarly. You hear them fucking fighting for dominance all over one another. They sound so nasty, and sometimes you can hear them following you around. It is very unsettling. To hear something that can just like dwarf that sound and put it all to fucking shame and to rest. No,
exactly.
That's something that'll make you shit your pants.
Yeah, it gives me chills just like relaying that. But like 15 minutes later too, like this is sort of like what again like spooked me is we heard the coyotes off like a mile and a half away from where they originally were. So not only did they shut up, but they got out of Dodge. They left.
That what did you say? You said a moan. Whoop?
A moan that like kind of and that was like a long moan that almost ended with like a whoop.
That is kind of the classic call too. You hear that in the Moorhead tapes. You hear a lot of that sort of thing, and then when you hear those videos of like the moan in the woods, it almost sounds like a siren going off.
Yeah, it's certainly like something I really don't want to hear again. To be honest with you, yeah, it's like siren heads in the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I probably would like to hear. You said whose tapes were these? So, probably look them up.
Yeah, Samurai Chatter. I think it was. Look up the Moorhead tapes. I believe is what it's called. The Sierra Sounds. That's another term it went by. Yeah, I played it on Skinwalker tapes a bunch of times. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, I probably heard it. I have a. Wouldn't you think that the bigger ones would actually be dangerous?
Well,
like,
if it's a wild animal, if that's what we're dealing with here.
Well, I'm asking because like we have old legends saying that these things would just like plug people's heads right off their shoulders.
Well, certainly in my area, like we have all kinds of native legends that talk about like fighting giants and things like that, and people obviously take this two ways. They say that there was actually giants that lived here, or these are tales of Bigfoot. So,
Yeah.
But what's kind of interesting to me is that if these tales are about Bigfoot, like why isn't Bigfoot doing that today? Why aren't they? I mean, unless Bigfoot is the missing 411 character.
You can imagine these tales kind of taking on a life of their own and being overblown. Like there's stories about grizzlies absolutely ripping people apart and evidence that they did exactly that. But grizzlies aren't particularly dangerous to us.
Yeah, well, I was about to say like even like that the encounters that I had were really not like out of the blue things. It was more like I was in their area, their territory, and they just were like kind of having enough of what was going on, and they took action to spook us off.
Such is nature. Indeed.
Exactly, yeah. It wasn't like they were stalking us on. I mean, trust me, we were afraid the whole way back to the truck, but you have about like a mile walk back to that road. But yeah, I mean, they didn't stalk us, or we didn't get like rocks thrown at us. I mean, it was literally just the moan and See you on your way.
I hope to be so lucky one day to have one of these encounters. Or is that a stupid thing to say?
I mean, it's definitely cool. It's a cool story to have and to tell people, but it is one of the freakiest things you'll happen to you. It's not something that, like, you really relish in the moment.
All right. Well, I appreciate having you here, Matt. This is some good content. Some good content for the Skinwalker boys. Some good stuff from my channel. Can't wait to do 2 more interviews with you about creepy encounters. You said you had a Hookman encounter.
I have a real life Hookman story.
Could you maybe give just a brief preview of that? The briefest of previews. We're gonna record that soon.
Yes, I'd have to say that there's more to legends than what they might seem, and that's maybe what that's. So, and we can have the discussion of maybe what inspires these things. Does an actual event inspire the legend, or does the legend inspire an actual event?
Well, I can't wait. Thanks for being here with us, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Could you explain what the Hookman is exactly? For those that don't know,
we're not going to do that. It's an urban legend. It's a classic urban legend. It's very easy to find, and it may have taken place in reality. Find out next time on Spooky Stories with Yakov.